Hello, welcome to Module 1 from Treatment of Marriage and Family Systems from Chapter 1 in the Walsh book. Tolstoy said, "All happy families are alike, but every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." I think that's a powerful quote in that happy families go through stages of development. They go through different tasks of raising a family through the family life cycle, and they accomplish those things. Unhappy families tend to derail during transitional periods: marriage, birth of a child, adolescence, children launching or failing to launch, middle age, retirement, old age, divorce, separation. A lot of issues: child abuse, domestic violence, family neglect, substance use, disengagement, chaos, occur around inability to function around normal family life cycle processes and changes. So if you're looking at page 3 in chapter 1, the question that Emma Walsh poses is, what makes a normal family? What causes a family to be normal? And while every family is different and there is no standard of normality, there is a societal expectation that we function as families, that we raise our children, that we provide for them, that we honor the laws of the land, that we meet certain societal expectations, that we send our children to school, that they thrive, that they're clean, that they're well fed, that they meet state standards to avoid deprivation and neglect and abuse. So if you're looking at Maya Angelou's quote, "The ache for home, the desire to be at home lives in us all, the safe place where we can go." Sadly, children grow up in homes that are not safe for them at all. Those children tend to come and see us in treatment. Many times the symptom bearer, the identified client for the family, is a child. The systems that typically drive families into treatment are either the school system, the educational system, or the correction system. So look at that. Looking at social construction of normality, changes according to social and economic contingencies, but raising families and providing for families and maintaining families tend to stay the same. Looking at normal families on page 5 is asymptomatic. Typically, that's understood to mean that non-clinical families, looking at the bottom of the page, are a heterogeneous group spanning the entire range of functioning. Troubled families may or may not seek treatment, and they may attempt to handle problems of their own, but typically functioning families are able to deal with the changes of the family life cycle in fairly healthy, pro-social ways. Looking at normal families on page 6 as typical or average, patterns that are common or expected in ordinary families. Again, following social values, compliance with laws around education and provision. A normal family is ideal and healthy. Normal family functioning is conceptualized in terms of basic patterns, how we interact. There's a biopsychosocial systems orientation that takes into account multiple recursive influences in individual and family functions. There is no simple one-to-one correlation between individual family health or dysfunction. A disturbed child in treatment is not an automatic indicator that that family is not functional, is exhibiting dysfunction. It's not an indicator that parents are either fit or unfit for the role of parenting that child. But as you assess your families for normal patterns of functioning, it is important to differentiate between a single member of the family having issues and the family being troubled as a whole. What I tell the families that come to us for practice are, if there's something wrong with my child, by definition there is something wrong with me. Not that I've done something wrong, but that my world is now going wrong because my child is suffering. We require families to come into treatment with their child. We don't see children independently of their family group, whether their family is biological, foster, adoptive, or other. They're all required. A family life cycle framework on page 8 considers processes in a multi-generational system. I can only know what I know. I can only know what I've been taught. I can only demonstrate and give to my children out of my own personal resources. And what may be normal to me may not be what is healthy and socially functional for my child. Those unhealthy patterns that may seem very normal to me, patterns of domestic violence or abuse or neglect or sexualized behaviors or inappropriate behaviors or criminal behaviors, just because they seem to fit my pattern of normal does not mean that those patterns can continue to be handed down generationally. One of the common goals of family treatment is to identify areas of dysfunction, to deconstruct those, break them apart, and help families reconstruct or construct for the first time positive prosocial functioning, to be considered then to be on the path of normal. If you're looking at page 9, dysfunction is a purely descriptive word. Family patterns that are not working, associated with symptoms of distress, regardless of the source. Sometimes it's not the fault of the family. It could be the stress of being a dual earner or a single parent, or parents with a child with chronic health problems. Every area of where families fail to function is not an indicator of less than social values and norms. It may just be an indicator of a family that's stressed beyond what their ability to cope may be, and they're seeking treatment. Looking at what comprises a family. The traditional family, mother, father, 2 or 3 children, is still in place, but it's not the only family group that you're going to see. When you ask a client who their family is, the right answer is whoever they say their family is. In our particular society, we have grandparents and even great-grandparents, and aunts and great-aunts raising children, older siblings raising children, single parents, both mothers and fathers raising their children without the benefit of another partner. We have same-sex families. We have foster and adoptive families. We have temporary fictive families where children have been placed kind of in a holding pattern until they're able to go somewhere else. A child's family, a client's family, is who they consider to be the people within their group in that place that they call home. And it is not our position or place to say to any client that the people they've identified do not comprise their family. Normal families, nuclear families, extended families, same-sex families, adopted, foster families are families. A family is the person who's there for me when I go home. Looking at page 10, changing families and changing worlds. There are varied family forms, changing gender roles, fathers who are staying home, mothers who are the primary breadwinner, same-sex families, cultural diversity, extended families living in the same house, the disparity of socioeconomic status, varying and expanded family life cycles. Page 11. Obviously, the nuclear family has been greatly impacted by socialization and both parents in the workforce. Try to avoid gender-specific comments about your families, like mothers in the workforce. They're parents in the workforce. There are so many single parents. 60% of minority children under a certain level of socioeconomic status have a single parent in the home. Post-divorce, remarriage, blended families, step families. Families trying to find their new normal, where each family member and all those children fit into the changing family cycle. Looking at page 14 with changing gender roles and rules. Traditional Patterns of male dominance and female submissiveness are drastically changing based on economic and social changes, on the financial need for both parents to be in the workforce, the family need for older siblings to take on more of an adult parentified role with siblings. So those things have to be considered, and we as clinicians have to evaluate our own values and morals and beliefs and traditions that we hold prior to being able to meet with our families where they are. Because where they are when they come into treatment is where we have to begin. So if you're looking at families who work second shifts, dad may work first shift while mom stays home. They may change roles in caretaker, and the mother may work the second shift. Creates a lot of havoc and heartache, a lot of stress on marriages to try to maintain a marriage, a socioeconomic status, raising children when the parents are never really in the home at the same time, other than perhaps holidays and weekends. Look for those kinds of contingencies in the families that you see. Cultural diversity and socioeconomic disparity. Hispanic families, African American families, Asian families, Native American families, same-sex families have always been underrepresented in our population as families seeking treatment. Many of those families stay within their own communities or on their own faith systems. Non-Hispanic whites are now proportionally in the minority in 100 of the largest cities in this country. And creating a practice atmosphere and environment that is open and welcoming to clients from diverse backgrounds, different cultural responses, is a culturally competent, sensitive approach to meeting the needs of the clients in our demographic areas. Looking at page 18, Harriet Ponte stresses the emotional relational problems of poor minority families, requiring a greater understanding of the counselor. We have to come out of our own norm. We have to come out of our own boxes of what we understand to be normal families to be, and immerse ourselves in the cultural history and tradition of the populations that we're going to serve. Not requiring a culturally diverse client to explain their ethnic or racial or cultural group to us or be spokesperson for everyone in their group, but to immerse ourselves and to learn, to understand knowledge, awareness, and skills, what our own values and biases and prejudices and discriminations may be, and how that would impact us as we treat them. Prejudice is a belief system. It cannot be legislated against. Discrimination is an act. So when you're looking at trying to provide these services to diverse populations, understanding that variance is important. If we only put our cultural hat on when someone of a different skin color or hair texture enters our office, our clients are going to see that. They're going to pick up on that as very fake and artificial. If we understand that every client who comes through the office is in some way culturally diverse from ourselves, then we are practicing from a multicultural, competent, sensitive stance all the time with all clients. For knowledge, awareness, and skills, we can gain knowledge and we can hone our skills. We can even heighten our awareness, but sensitivity and respect are not things that can be learned. They have to be things that are innate, that are developed. If you're looking at extended family life course and the sandwich generation, middle-aged clients who have taken care of children and are now finding themselves taking care of aging parents who are living longer based on changing longevity statistics on better health, trying to determine what our family of choice is, how we make decisions about our children, keeping them in the home with a private sitter, a daycare, how that impacts how we care for our older relatives. Do they stay at home? Do they find assisted living? Do we get caretakers in as nursing home residency programs? Are those the options? And how we arrive at those things. Families that have difficulty making those adjustments grief issues, not understanding how that might impact certain cultural belief systems and traditions. Families facing the future. What is the face of our family going to look like as we enter this part of our practice in our country as it is changing? Looking at page 21 with Mary Catherine Bateson, she believes that adaptation comes out of encounters with novelty that at first seem chaotic as we try to find our way, but then ultimately our systems regroup. The family system is always seeking homeostasis, seeking balance, whether that balance is negative or positive. They seek the normal that we know. So understanding marriage and family systems and treatment is key to be able to help us help the families that seek us for treatment. As you go through this class, please immerse yourself in the theory of family systems. Understand the different divergence of families that will come to you across these chapters, and be prepared to prepare your assignments and your responses accordingly. I wish you the best during this class. I hope that it's instructive and productive for you. We'll see you for Module 2.